Good evening, folks. Welcome to the property meeting of the William Penn School District. Tonight's board meeting on May 3rd, 2023. Our agenda this evening will be to discuss some facilities master plan updates regarding East Lansdowne, Evans Elementary, Kerr Field, and then some recommendations from the for the business meeting that's coming up. So let's get started. Mr. Kaufman, if you could pull us up the facilities master plan updates, then I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Good. Again, ran through the agenda already.
Can we put a link to this item in the chat, please, for the citizens?
I believe it's about to go in now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So East Lansdowne and Evans update. Construction commenced at East Lansdowne and Evans Elementary over spring break, as you know, and were informed last property committee meeting. They're now working limited hours after school in preparation for summer work, and they're working on a detailed schedule of work to be completed over the summer, and it will be reviewed with the committee next month. Excuse me. Currently, bi-weekly construction meetings are occurring between KCBA, the prime contractors, and Darnell Deans to represent the district and make sure everything is being done to our standards and to follow up with cleanliness and anything like that that comes up during that time.
And any questions regarding?
Oh yeah,
All right, seeing none.
So the Kerr Field update. We can jump over to some pictures real quick. I know so we received some drone pictures from Mike Rufo yesterday. So they're progressing really well on the actual field itself, and you can see the outline, the track coming into play, concrete being poured for buildings and bleachers.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is. And I know last meeting, Ms. Hoff, you asked about the drainage on the softball fields and baseball field. So those the water, if it overflows, will discharge into the stormwater management system already in place from Yadinboro. So no water will overflow onto the fields or into neighboring properties once that basin gets full. So permitting and between DCCD and Yadinboro, same status as last meeting. Construction, this is updated, so 70% done earthwork. All stormwater basins are complete. Management piping and controls are 85% complete. The drainage, I believe that's around the track, if I'm not mistaken, 60% complete. Concrete curb at field, 30% complete. And as I mentioned, bleacher pads complete, goalpost foundations are complete. Lighting foundations have started, and electric and data conduit has started as well. Buildings, Mid-Atlantic is continuing to solicit pricing at this time. Subgrades complete, foundation excavation complete, sanitary discharge line installed. The masonry contractors have started mobilizing, and they're using local 413 laborers as needed. Subcontracts, concrete, masonry, and carpentry contracts have been awarded, and Mid-Atlantic is still accepting bids for plumbing, drywall, paint, flooring, and toilet accessories. They said have not had any bids submitted from local contractors as of yet. However, they're still accepting for those areas. So if you know anybody that's interested in the project, please reach out to Mike Rufo. And he can get them a bid package as soon as possible. Any questions on Kerrfield project?
Yeah, I think last week I asked a question about the roofer whose address listing was East Lansdowne. I haven't heard back from that yet.
Okay, sorry about that, Bill. I will follow up. I wanted to write it down, so I didn't forget. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Thanks, Bob.
Any other additional questions?
I guess, well, we'll get into that, I guess, in a little bit on the other slides about the, where is it at? The change order for Kerr in terms of the pumping and the subgrade. Should I ask that now or you want me to wait till later?
Let's wait till later because it'll come up in
Okay.
that way. Anybody who's watching from the public will get a better understanding of question. Okay, seeing no other questions. Okay, so here are the upcoming recommendations for the board business meeting. Recommendation 1 is to approve the dedication of part of the Parkland Library to Jacqueline Guy. We've had a request to dedicate a portion of the library to Miss Guy. The principal believes this is a great idea and wishes to do this, and it is a item that the property committee would approve.
I open the floor to any discussion around objections to this. If not, we recommend to move forward.
Can we just, is there a process for this? Can the board, I mean, I know Miss Guy, so I'm a little bit more comfortable, but can the board be made aware of her contribution to the district and why we're doing this specifically at Park Lane?
Sure, so I believe the next board update is before the business meeting, so I can include that information in that board communication. And if it's not out, I will send out a special
Thank
email
you.
with that information.
Bob, that would be great. Again, not seeing any objections, I guess this is going to move forward. Thank you, Bob. Let's move on to the next item.
Okay, next recommendation is to approve the new 4-year maintenance contract with Airmark. Cost increases of 4% in the year 1 and then 4.5% in subsequent years. The contract highlights that are included are a $350,000 grant to be amortized over 4 years. This is an increase from the last contract from $250,000. We also have a vacant positions credit included in this contract. So for any positions that are open for 60 days, we will be credited that amount in salaries expense back to the district, and for however long it remains vacant after that as well. Quality inspections are now to be conducted monthly and documented. And if the quality of services fall below 75% on the IQC inspection scale, which is the metric they use in their software, the district will be credited $10,000 per quarter. And we also included in the contract the ability to add additional employees to maintain Kerrfield when complete, once we assess the need that we will have.
Board members, I would just like to add that we did spend time working with Airmark. I have not been, or I should say there are sometimes when some things are not to the degree that I would like for them to be. That's why you see some of the, I'll say, concessions added into the contract. And I thought it was beneficial for the district to do that because I don't believe we should be paying for services that are not effectively being rendered. So that is why you have some of these new items being included into the contract.
I wondered if thank you, Dr. B. Kurtz. It sounds like a good move, but I wonder if the credit for vacant positions couldn't be a little sharper at 45 days. 60 days without someone in their position causes a lot of hardship to our district, and they're earmarked. They should have a deep bench. I just feel like 60 days is a little too generous, and I mean, if they fall, I just want to make them accountable. $10,000 a quarter to a company like Airmark is, not a lot. Maybe that could be like 25,000. Because we shouldn't be below 75%. Like, it's just not okay. I just wondered if those things could get a harder look. And I appreciate what you did, Dr. Baker.
Yep, so in our assessment through this process, what we discovered was a lot of the areas that were falling under what we deemed our expectations were due to short staffing. So if you combine those two items, the 10,000 and the vacant position credit, that they felt like we were kind of double dipping, for lack of a better term, in the concession. Because the lack of quality was as a result of the position being vacant and being understaffed in the building.
Sounds like their problem, not ours.
I agree.
Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, okay, then leave it at 10, but can we have 45 days? I mean, that's why you use a firm like Airmark, because they have a bench.
I'm
Yeah,
totally fine. Yeah, I'm totally fine with going back to them. Trust me, it took us several iterations to get to this point.
Right.
So, they understand where we are with the approval process. So I'm fine with going back around the number of days.
So I guess my question would be, on average, how many vacant positions occur at any one time? And I guess the second part of that question is, what is the average length of time it takes to fill that position?
We will get answers to those questions and make sure that you all have them before the board meeting, so we can make informed decisions.
Okay, and I guess my third question is, it's just, I guess, my own curiosity, what is the longest time it has taken to fill a position?
Okay, we'll get answers to those questions. Mr. Deans, if you can make sure that you capture those. I'm not in a place where I can write them down, but if you would make sure that we capture those so that we can follow up with Airmark, that'd be great. Or Bob, thank you.
I guess I have one more question. It says that where it says quality inspections are now to be conducted on a monthly. So when are they currently conducted on a?
We do not currently have that in place. That's part of the
Okay.
reason why I wanted
Okay.
to put them in place.
And then it says if it falls below 75 cents on an IQC inspection. So is there a third party that does these inspection, or does the district do them, or?
It will be the district and a representative from Airmark.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess my question would be, who would be our district person who does that? Would it be Bob? Would it be Darnell? Would it be somebody else?
It could be one or all of the above, and it may even include me sometimes. It just depends, but we will have a bench of people that will be available to conduct it. I'm thinking it should fall in the business office, either with Barb or Darnell. Specifically, that's my thinking. Did that answer your question? Okay.
That answers my question.
Okay.
Any other questions from other board members?
No, just a comment that I'm glad those clarifiers are in place. If we move the post further one way or the other, but at least this is a good beginning.
Yeah, I think the accountability component for Aramark is good measure for us to keep them in line, Dr. Bikos. Thank you for that work.
You're welcome.
Bob, would you move along, please? Thank you.
Yes. So next item up for recommendation would be to approve the change order for Kerr Field related to The pumping and subgrade under the D zones and track, estimated to be a maximum of 90K. This money will come out of the 698,000 contingency fund that was approved by the board. Work includes excavation below subgrade to depths determined by a geotechnical engineer, handle excavated materials on site, supply and install geotextile stabilization fabric, and to supply, install, and compact to a modified stone base course. So essentially that would be to stabilize the dirt that is underneath the track and D zone, so that once the track and D zone are installed, if any weight were to be put on those or any extra water came in, that they would not sink and become unlevel.
I'm gonna play Joy now. Why wasn't this in their original estimate? Why is it even a change order?
Because they didn't find it until they dug down to input the goalpost. And then that's when they found the soil that was still wet and unstable underneath.
But they did drill on the property. They dug holes. I mean, one would think that the goalpost area would have been where they dug. I'm just asking.
I think it's worth us asking the question. And so let's ask the question and follow up and provide the board with a response.
Sure.
So I guess, so I'll ask my question now. And I'm not an engineer, but I assume that it's possible that if they had dug, Jen, and found it by the goalpost, the change of work, it still would have been a change of work order, but it would have came in sooner, but it probably wouldn't have affected the overall cost, but I could be wrong. My question, however, is that once we kick up to 90K, once this work is completed and around the track and the field is stabilized, there's always things that pop up. So once that money's paid and that is completed, in the future, should there be any issues with this type of item, I assume that we would be insulated against any further cost to repair it, since we are doing that presently.
I believe so. And we also contracted with a third-party geotechnical engineer to work for the district, so that we weren't just relying on Mid-Atlantic's word. They supervised the work, made sure that the work was done properly, and basically were our experts to make sure the work is done properly.
I mean, even the fields, sanitary sewer lines, things sag, so they're done. But once they sag and they've been completed ahead of time or repaired, that any further sag or any interruption in the consistency of the field should be borne by the contractor, correct?
We'll have to verify and look at our contract to make sure.
So, Bob, from the way you described this work is already complete. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the audience? All right, Bob.
Next recommendation is to approve KCBA to design Green Avenue and Cypress additions, expansions, renovations. Fees are estimated to be approximately $247,000 for Green Avenue and $67,000 for Cypress. For design only, this will allow KCBA to complete the designs and align the work to the next phase of the Renewing America School Grant application. This is not the full fee for the project, just the design phase to continue with the grant application. And the funds will be used from the capital fund.
And I just want to clarify one thing. The full application has been submitted. So when we talk about to complete the phase or to align it with the application, in the application, we had to indicate our timeline for doing certain things. And so that's what we're really referencing. And if you will recall, at our, I believe it was the last property meeting, we talked about moving forward with renewing America's School Grant, and it was agreed upon that we would continue to move forward. So I just wanted to make sure that the board was able to make the connections between those two items.
Okay. Any questions from folks? So now I have a question regarding this. So when would we be able to see some renderings to kind of decide on which direction this might need to go and how the space will be utilized so that we can kind of give a rough look to the building? I know that it needs some design work for the grant, but you know, I don't want to do double work. So if there are some drawings that we can see in rough draft at some point, that would be great for the board, I think.
So what was shown to the board prior to us finishing the application is what was actually submitted with the application. No additional drawings have been developed since that time. However, we will be starting sooner rather than later the process to begin being a little bit more specific and including some others in that discussion. And so right now we're going to have to, you know, just given the manpower we have and what we're doing with Kerr, Evans, East Lansdowne, not trying to necessarily have another meeting or sessions around facilities, because we also have that subcommittee with Kerr Field, trying to determine how that and when that happens. So it's in process, Jan, I guess is really what I'm saying to you. And the board will be a part of those discussions. Did that make sense to you, sir?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other thoughts from board members? All right. Bob?
All right, so then our last item is the recommendation to approve Aldenboro municipal building site plan. This will allow the borough to continue with their grant application. And LinkedIn is the site plan with the extension from the current building, which I believe ends right here.
So I was unfortunately, and I apologize for being unable to attend the walkthrough last week. Is there anybody here who did the walkthrough that have any comments on that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna let Jen, I saw your hand, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a great project. I'm happy to be supportive. Mr. Deans, though, we do need to see those three contracts or whatever they're called regarding the site, other stuff. But yes, this site plan is fine.
Yeah, so just so you know, we did confirm with the borough that the request to merge the leases and extend is separate from the request for the site plan. So we don't want to
Correct,
both at
but
the same time and confuse anybody. But that information is gonna come to the board soon.
yeah, they'll just need it sooner than later. I don't want to
Yep.
delay them.
All right, so Bill, just so you know, their current facilities, they've outgrown. And when we walked through, it was tight in there. And this will give them significant space to expand and have all the rooms that they need to ensure that the borough has the space to do borough work, police department has space to do their work. And
I mean, when you drive by, you can actually, you know, it's plainly visible how small that building is. I was
Yes.
just wondering if anybody who was part of the walkthrough had any objections.
I don't from the team that was there, the site you know, that they had laid out is fairly compact, even though it looks in the map pretty big. So if you were looking from the front end, it goes to about where the doors are in the front, the emergency exit doors that are in the front of the building there, just past the playground. So it's still a small footprint. There is a set of windows that will have the street view blocked off, but still have plenty of light from the outside. And from what I can tell from the outside, those windows were, you know, covered to begin with things in front of it to block the kids from looking out the window or something. There are a lot of things in front of that window. So I don't think the view was obstructed. The light is definitely not obstructed between the two buildings. But conversations between the township and you know, and us regarding the rest of the components, but it has a one of the, if you looked at the plan a little bit more, there is a vestibule where they will have you know, facilities for the public when they do hold gatherings and things like that. That way they don't have to use you know, request the school to open up or anything like that.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm in favor. Again, I was just wondering if anybody had an objection that either I or nobody else had thought of yet. Thank you.
Nope. Any other thoughts? All right. So I guess the recommendation is going to move forward. We'll be able to vote on all of those items in the upcoming board meeting. And with that, we're going to our discussion. There are items
I'm sorry, Jen, I think you broke up a little bit.
are there items that we want to discuss are there topics that we want to discuss that we have not brought up yet tonight?
Jan, any update on what's going on at Bell?
I don't have anything, but I'm going to ask Bob, are there updates regarding Bell?
So I do not have one at this time. I have to make sure Mike and his team have that in their timeline. From what I can remember, it was supposed to be included and we were waiting to make sure we received the RCAP funding.
No. This is, I'm talking about the
You're
wall.
talking about the wall?
Oh, the wall, excuse me. Okay. Yes, so we've received 2 proposals, waiting to receive the third. I believe they went out and looked at it yesterday. And then we'll use the lowest bid to with the work, as long as it's, you know, makes sense and that it's being properly fixed.
And have those bricks been picked up? I think that's one of the most urgent.
Yes, so they were picked up, I believe last Thursday, could have been Friday though. But they are removed from site right now.
Bob, I have a question. Jenna
Mhm.
mentioned about leases for Alden. What is the, I guess, the holdup in terms of us doing, you know, adding the leases to our agenda for a vote?
To be properly combined and drafted, reviewed by the solicitors to make sure there's no conflicting language when combining the contracts, since you're, you know, just making sure that every I's are dotted, T's are crossed. We didn't feel like we had enough time to do it by the May meeting.
Okay, so it's something that's just being started now. Okay. Because they presented this back in, I believe, the end of February. I'm just wondering why it wasn't done earlier, but I know that you were just, I know there was a transitional phase.
Sure, so it might have been, I'll be honest, I think it was just one of the items during the transitional phase that I thought Jeff had tied up already. And it turned out that it hadn't been, so it came to my attention within the last, between the last meeting and the current meeting, so I'm trying to make sure we resolve the items as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Janet, looks like you're muted.
Any other thoughts or comments? Thank you, Bob. All right. I want to thank everybody for this evening and give everybody back at least a half an hour. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.